Are you sick and tired of paying for coaches and not getting results? If you're paying for a coach and you're not getting results, it's probably because they're telling you exactly what you want to hear. And a good coach is going to tell you what you don't want to hear. They're going to tell you the hard stuff. They're going to point out the things that you need to work on, and it can get very uncomfortable. So, Dena, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here. You and I have been in the finance industry for several years. We won't say how many.
Just a few.
Just a few. And one of the things that I know that we both have been really leaning into doing more of is the finance coaching. And I'm curious from your perspective, why have you decided to do that?
It kind of came at first. It came a little bit from a frustration.
What kind of frustration?
It's a positive frustration, but it was frustration within, as an expert, when they came to me for lending needs, and you go back to them with feedback, and the feedback is no. Usually they're like, well, why? Mm-hmm. Right? Because everybody wants to know why. Why are you telling me no? Mm-hmm. And you provide, or I was providing specific feedback. Well, it's because you don't have enough cash flow, or it's because you mismanaged your funds, or it's because you chose to report things differently, or it's because you haven't done the hard stuff and you didn't cut off the expenses that are not necessary and just luxury, right? And this is what you need to do to fix the situation so you could get a yes. Where the frustration came back to me is that they either didn't hear it, didn't listen to it, or didn't know how to get to the next level. And then they come back later on and they're in a worse position. They're like, well, do I qualify now? And I'm like, did you hear anything I said? With some of them, I did ask the question. I said, we've had this conversation 9 months ago. I gave you a recommendation. You didn't believe me. Now you're back.
Why do you think they didn't believe you?
Well, because they thought they knew better.
Why do you think they know better?
Because they heard something somewhere else where someone said, unfortunately, there's so much of even like conversational podcasts on social media, right? Mm-hmm. And people heard something and they're like, oh, okay. But they didn't maybe hear the rest of it, or maybe it wasn't the expert on a podcast. They grab this little thing.
They take what they think works for them because it's what they want to hear. I see this all the time with business owners I've run into over the years that say, well, my so-and-so is doing this, right, and they're able to do this in their business. Yeah. Why can't I do that? Well, you're not comparing apples to apples.
And you don't even know what the rest of their business is like.
Absolutely. You don't know the actual full umbrella. You're just looking at this one aspect and you're saying, okay, I'm going to take this one thing because this is what's going to work for me because it's what I think it's going to work for me. And I think that's what happens with coaches. From my experience of going through and working with coaches myself, paying for coaches, but also being in a coach position, that I have had to learn over the years is you have to tell people what they don't want to hear. Mm-hmm. Now, there's a way you can say it that hopefully that you can help influence them to make a better decision.
Well, and it's so, yes, but here's where my coaching thing came in, is then if you are not working with them intimately in a coaching scenario, you don't necessarily know what their language is and how do you need to present that information so they hear you. That's a really good point.
That's a really good point.
It's not you are wrong, I'm right, everybody has a different language, number one.
Well, and I think this is a good key point too, and we've talked about this, is rather you have an option of how you build your business for transaction-based versus relationship-based.
Right.
And to me, to be an effective coach, if you're in it for just transactional based, that's where I think they don't care if you get results or not. Mm-hmm. They're looking to close another account. Whereas I think for us, we lean more into relationship based. You have that intimate connection with them so that you can figure out what is their language? How do I speak in terms that make sense to them? Because we're finance people. We talk finance all the time, and we have to watch. I watch my clients' eyes, and I'm like, oh, getting the glazed look. I gotta cut it. I'm going too far, right? So what this means is I need to step back, and I need to start asking more questions, right?
Yes. Well, and then the other piece is that everyone has a different emotional relationship with finance and money.
It's so when I started my company years ago, that was the one thing that I always said to myself, that was a value that I hold myself to today, that says money is a very personal thing. It can be embarrassing for folks because a lot of times people feel like they should be farther in life. It's a very personal and can again be embarrassing. And because of that, our goal is to never make somebody feel judged for where they're at, make them feel less than who they are. The goal is to meet them where they're at. We have to find out where you are financially, and then find out what it is that you want, so that we can help you get to where you want. But we have to figure out where you're at today. Society teaches us, you have media saying that you need to have the Lamborghinis and the boats and all of that, right? When in reality, that's not really what necessarily people always want, or that's how you feel like you should come across. When in reality, it's like you shouldn't feel embarrassed about where you're at, right? But if you want to be better, you have to recognize where you're at.
Yes, and then you have to understand that there are also various solutions and options in getting you to where you want to be.
Well, and I think that goes back to what you said, where you can tell someone where you see their struggles are, and you say, okay, here's the things that you need to go work on. You need to go work on cash flow. You need to go cut expenses because you have all these unnecessary operating expenses, right? But if this business owner, they're saying, okay, I know I need to do this, but I don't know how to do that. Because this is what I've been taught to do, right? I want to reduce my tax liability, so I'm going to expense everything that I can.
Right, even if I don't need something.
Even if the business doesn't need it.
Well, and then there's a conversation to be had. Okay, there's a cost of doing business, right? There's a cost of, let's say, borrowing to grow your business. So there's also a lot of conversation and concept going out there. Debt is bad. Debt is your enemy, right? So people are fixated on, okay, I want to pay as less interest as possible. So, and I'm going to speak to that because this is my daily situation with the people that are coming into me. They're saying the rate is too high. I don't want to do this. Because I think I should get a lower rate. I'm going to sit on this and wait until the rates drop, and then I will revisit this. Well, unfortunately, none of us have a crystal ball, right? And then they sit and wait for the rate to drop. In the meantime, there is cost of opportunity. You didn't borrow, so you didn't buy this piece of equipment to provide additional service or additional product, right? You didn't borrow, so you didn't build out your online presence, you didn't build out your marketing, you didn't hire the right people. So you've lost an opportunity. But guess who didn't do it? Your competitor. They said, I will pay 8% for that debt because if I do X, Y, and Z, I am now going to get a 300% return on the revenue. So did you really save something? No.
Well, and I think that goes back to leaning into and why it's exciting to be able to work with you. We have some shared clients in regards to the coaching, because it goes back to a coach is going to tell you what you don't want to hear sometimes, but they're also going to help you work through how to make that work, right?
They'll give you solutions, they'll give you options, they'll give you potential roadmap, right? You're still in the driving seat. You still get to make the decisions, but you are paying someone to give you a map of opportunities, and then you'll say, I could do this, I could do that. Maybe I'm not comfortable with this item number 3 right now, but let's start moving towards that direction.
Well, and I think what clients run into too is, okay, now a coach comes in and they tell you, here's what you need to do. And here's how you do it. Well, now the client doesn't do anything with it. This is what you said. You have clients that are like, well, okay, I know what I need to do. I've now been told how do I do it, but they're still not doing it.
Yes, and then the conversation with them is, why? Is there anything else I can do for you to get you to take that next step?
And I think that's the key, is having somebody that you trust to kind of almost not handhold you, but just be there for when you go through it. Because what happens is people are afraid of the unknown. They're not sure what it's, or it's uncomfortable. They've never done it before. You come in and you say, okay, here's what you did. Now go, here's what you need to do. Now go do this. And let's talk about it afterwards.
And that's where a good coach steps in. Like you, I've heard the stories of your clients, you know, you've given them everything and they're just not doing it. And there's this one client that I've heard you share a story about, because I was on the phone call with you. I'm like, hey, can we do this? And you're like, no, I am flying out to meet with my client to go to that meeting and help them close the transaction, because I know they will, but they're just not comfortable going to that by themselves.
And the awesome part of it with that client, I know who you're talking about, is I didn't have to really do much, right? It was your presence. It was just the presence of knowing somebody is there for me, right? And then, we talk, and then having the opportunity to talk to that person afterwards and say, okay, here's how this felt. This is very uncomfortable, or this worked, or this felt good. And then me, of course, saying, may I give you some feedback? Yes, right. You can give me some feedback and say, okay, here's what I saw that you did well. Here's where I might have done something different, or here's how I recommend you do different, or here's what, okay, now you did, how did you feel about this, right? How did this make you feel? What did you feel here? And having that ability to have someone that you can speak to afterwards and say, okay, it's like me with my marketing coach, and we do these videos. I'm like, you got to experience it behind the scenes, right? And you're like, Crystal, just say it this way, right? I go, but it's nice to have a good coach. Is Nathan said it. Thank you, Nathan. And it's like, no, Crystal, not like that. Right? It's like, oh, okay, fine.
But that's a good coach. They will call it out, and they'll say, I'm gonna laugh or cry through this with you, but we'll get it done. Like, I'll be right here, right? And I will help you get there, because I have now learned you and your personality and your way of getting results. So I'm gonna support you in that way. That's what a coach will do. An employee cannot do that for you. Your friends may be able to guide you through certain things in your life, but they're not able to come in and step into your daily operation and walk through that with you, right? You can, some may be able to help you with something, but a coach has a very different role. And if you are choosing a coach, if you're choosing to go the route of the coach, I would say do a very good job interviewing your coach, but not just for their expertise, understanding, can you work with this individual? Are you blending? Because there's going to be some tough conversations.
Absolutely. And I think it's also understanding a good coach is a coach you can push back on too.
Yeah.
Because there are times where I've had Nathan with my marketing, like with the video stuff, where he says something, I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. I understand why you're saying that, but I'm not doing it. And then eventually I end up probably doing it. But but there are times where sometimes we have to learn the hard way. And that means going through it and then recognizing, oh, now I understand why they said to do it this way. Or saying, actually, I recognize you're saying that, but I'm going to do it this way because this feels more natural, or this is more authentic, or this is how, okay, perfect. That's also good feedback to give to your coach, because if you come to a coach and you hire them to help you with something, they're working with you, they're instructing you on what to do, and you're not doing it, and all of a sudden you're like, but you're not being honest with them. That's the other thing, is you have to be honest with your coaches. Because if I'm doing something wrong, or I'm doing something that doesn't mesh with you, or it just doesn't feel right with you, you have to give me that feedback. Because if I don't know that, I can't fix it. I can't change it in order to help you in a method that's going to work best for you.
Yeah. And the other piece I would add to having a benefit of working with a coach, you're paying money for it.
You hope so.
Right?
You're
paying money to your coach.
Yes.
So you are getting recommendation, you're getting a roadmap, you're getting all of that. And because money talks, eventually you're either going to have to start making action steps to get to results, or you're wasting money. So that money piece, yes, it's a compensation for a professional, but really personally for an individual, it's the cost that comes with it, right? So now you're saying, all right, well, okay, I've now had the coach for 3 months. I haven't done anything that has been recommended, and I am now out X dollars, right? Am I going to do something about it or not?
But is that on the coach?
Nope, it's on them. But that's really how long are they willing to pay the bill without the action? I think that motivates people, or even pushes people out of their comfort zone to go and do something because they have now put resources towards it.
And there's that, and I think part of sometimes for some people, I'm this person, it's the accountability aspect of it. As a business owner who invests in coaches, one of the things that I found too is I do that a lot of times to have that accountability to do the actions, right? If I'm going to tell this person I'm going to do it as a recovering people pleaser, for me, that's what works for me, right? I don't want to show up to my next coaching session and not have anything done. I'm going to show up and I'm going to be as embarrassed as hell because I said I was going to do this, and I'm not a person who likes to create excuses, right? I'd rather do the results. So, and that's what works for me, right? I think there's also there are also other folks who don't need that accountability. They just need direction.
Yep.
They just need the guidance, right? They're the go-getters that I've got a couple of those where they just need guidance. They just need somebody to talk their thought process through and say, okay, here's the pros and cons of this. Here, what about this? What about this? What about this? And they're like, okay, I now know what to do next. Yeah. And I think, again, as you said earlier, as a finance coach, this is very personal. It's not like, when I was playing roller hockey when I was younger and you listen to the coach and stuff, right? That's right. Like, okay, I got this, right? But when it comes to money, there's just a mindset that goes through it too. And a lot of times working with a finance coach, what helps working with a finance coach, because I've done it over the years, I know you've invested in it too, is we have to change our mindset around it too. And it's not always easy to do that on your own.
Yeah.
You have a business owner that says, okay, I have to improve my cash flow and I have to cut out these unnecessary expenses, but I have a mindset that tells me spend as much as I can to reduce my tax liability. Well, we have to change that mindset and walk them through why does it not make sense to do that, right? Well, here's how it's affecting you, right? So what are the things that you can do to get out of that mindset?
Or you might be in a position where you only know so many expense items that you could do, but that's where the coach steps in and says, hey, actually, we can still have an expense that will benefit you versus take something away from you. So you as the business owner, you're an expert in your business. A financial coach is an expert in the financial options that are out there. So you're really enhancing your own daily operation where you're good at what you do, but there's someone else who comes in that is good at what they do, which is finance, and they're able to bring you all of these other options or a Rolodex of options and saying, hey, your business could benefit from XYZ, so let's take a look at that. So it's having a financial coach allows you to have a bigger picture and take off some of the limitations.
And take some of that heavy loadness that's sitting on your shoulders thinking, I gotta figure this out all on my own.
You don't.
We don't have to do this on our own. Embrace the fact that there are experts out there that can help you get there faster. Going through this myself over the years, saying, you know, I'm going to lean into this and be vulnerable enough to say, I don't know everything, and I do need a little bit of help. I will do the work. I just need somebody to help me make sure that I'm doing the right work that makes sense to get me to the lifestyle that I'm looking for to build in my business.
Yeah. So why financial coaching? For me, helping business owners getting to results.
I want to teach business owners to get that lifestyle that they want. How do you financially get there? And I think this is a good stopping point. So if this resonates well with you and you're looking for a finance coach that's going to tell you what you don't want to hear, which is really what you need to hear, right? Go ahead and click on the link below and connect with us, and we'll go from there. Thanks, guys.